And what I'm going to show you is a general demonstration of how to view the various parts of the software. The first bit to see is the dashboard, and what you can see at the moment is a fairly full dashboard with lots of widgets on it. Every customer will be different, and every widget can be customized to a specific set of information that the customer is looking for. You can have as many or as few widgets as you like on the dashboard, and you can move them around and do whatever you want to do with them. The idea of the widgets are that they are actually mini reports that have been constantly refreshed. So every 10 seconds or so, depending on how often you want them refreshed, they'll come back with an up-to-date set of information based around what you're wanting to see. What I'll do is I'll run around the dashboard for a start, just to give you an idea of the kind of information that we're able to deliver, just so you can understand the perspective we're coming from. These first four are fairly key to the majority of businesses that are looking around inbound calls from people wanting to do business with them. The first one here is a grade of service widget, and what this is showing is that I'm answering 17% of my calls within a target response time that I've set. Currently I've set it to 20 seconds, and as you can see, we're not doing very well against that target, so it's showing that we've got a very low percentage being handled within the time I need. Moving on from that one, we can see that actually, on average, people are having to wait 36 seconds to be answered. So we can see we're way off our 20-second target, and from that we can surmise that we're probably missing some calls, but you actually need to know what's happening and if you are missing calls and when you're missing them. The caller tolerance widget gives you a really good understanding of how long your customers are prepared to wait and queue to be answered by your business. And we can see from here that by the number of seconds queued and the number of calls missed, you can see that between 30 and 32 seconds we are missing a peak of calls. So we're not getting anywhere near answering a lot of calls. The unreturned missed calls widget next to it now gives you the information to actually call those people back. So what this is a concisely calculated list of missed calls, and we're looking constantly for an outbound call to one of these CLIs or another successful inbound call from that number. If either of those two happen, the number will be removed from this list. So as soon as you finish the call with that person, it'll disappear off that list within 30 seconds or so of you automatically rerunning this widget, and this list will slowly disappear. So it gives you a really clear and easy way of handling the missed calls and calling people back within a very quick time frame, rather than having to run reports in the traditional way that you might cut up and give out to people within the business a couple of times a day, but you very likely already missed the opportunity with those customers. So that's the first four, and those can very often be some of the key bits of information that people are looking for. There are other areas of the product that obviously on the dashboard we can help deliver a lot of really good information. For example, the hourly call traffic widget. Throughout the day this will build hour by hour, and you'll be able to see how busy you have been today in different time slots. You're able to also have a view of your contact center. If you've got an informal contact center, you'll have the ability to see how many calls are waiting and what the longest queue time now is, and how many calls you've answered and missed, for example. And again, various parts of this product require the different modules. This one specifically is the contact center upgrade part is required for this. Within the product, you're also able to use what we call motivational widgets. So you can have the photograph of the person who has actually made the most calls today or has been on the phone for the longest today. There are other options available as well for this type of widget. Some of the other widgets that are really valuable for a business to see live and running update are the DDI and the summary extension summary type widgets. So the DDI one, for example, gives you a really good idea of how many calls you're getting from specifically advertised DDIs in different places. This set here is done around advertising, obviously, so we've got Google, Yellow Pages, websites and TV ads, etc. What you're able to do is then see how many calls you're getting on those DDIs and how well you're answering them. So whether you're offering a high level of service to those particular DDIs, how many you're missing, average answer times, etc. So it might be that you have a very low cost on Google advertising, but you're getting a large number of calls in and you're handling them fairly well. Or it may be that you're spending hundreds of thousands of pounds on TV ads, not getting many calls, and when you do get them, you're missing them. So that's a very costly exercise, so you want to keep an eye on that sort of information. And then when it comes around to people, you can start monitoring the people within your departments. So this might be a sales department, a telesales, even a technical department, where you can now see how many calls individual people handle, what parts of the information are relevant to you we can have on the widget. So this comes from a report which I'll show in a minute, and there are lots of different columns, but you can have lots of different sets of data from that. So I'll show another version of that same set of data here. And what this is going to do is just show a cut down version of this information, and it gives you an idea of the level of information you can have, so you can have as much or as little information as you want. And then what we can also do is to order this by the different columns, so we can have a league table depending on which information is most important to you. So at this point it's about how many calls people are handling inbound. Okay. So what you're able to do then is to visualize this dashboard in as many places as you want on a big screen, on individual supervisors or managers or even agents' desktops, so they can have their own view of what's going on. And you're also able to run reports from this product as well. And at this point it's worth showing a report so you can understand how quick and easy it is to run reports. When we run it, we chose an extension activity report, and what this is going to do is to automatically run a report for everything, for all extensions for today. I get a summary of the information, and then I get all of the detailed information around every person and the call types that they've made today. There are some charts, and there are also some filters. So I can change the range of dates that I'm running this report for, and also the time range. I can then filter that data down to a more relevant set of information for me. So for example, if I'm a manager of a sales team, I can just see this information based around my sales team, and there I've got all of the information that I could want. And from this I can print and save and email this report, or I can create a widget from it. So this is where I would now produce a customized widget based on just the information I want to see. Maybe something as simple as user and how many inbound calls they've taken. I can then give this a unique name, and I'll give it a name that I'm going to remember. I can choose how often I want to refresh it, create the new widget, and then within my dashboard I've now got a new customized widget which allows me to see just the key information that I wanted to have. Once this is run for the first time, it takes a few seconds for the first time to build, and then it's just giving me the information I want. What I can also do at this point is change some settings, as I showed before, change the order of the information and sorting, and change some colors. So once I've got it in a position I like it, I can then save it, and it's all done, ready to go. And I can position it wherever I want to and have it whatever size I need. Okay. So we'll go back to the reports, back to here. Now what we can also do with this report, because we need to get this data out and available to people, we can add it to my reports. So what I can do with that is save it into a favorites area, which is here. I can save it for just myself or for everybody, and I can then again choose the columns that I want to have, whatever information I want to see, and at that point I'm able to manage who gets the report and what information it's going to deliver. I can print and save the report, and I can also email it. When I choose the email option, I can send it to one person or many, put a subject and a message on it, choose the output format I want to have it in, and then either send it now or schedule it on a daily, weekly or monthly basis. I can also save a copy of the report into a folder. So as soon as I click send, if I've chosen a daily one, Tomorrow at 1 AM, that report is going to go out to the entire distribution list in the format I wanted it, and I won't have to do it again. And every day from that point onwards, it will send that report out. So again, building a report with the information you want, filtering it, and then getting the data out is very, very simple. Okay. There are numerous reports in the product. One of the nice reports that we can show here is the executive summary. What this gives us is a really good view of an overall company profile. And what this is very useful for is senior management or managing director type level people, where it gives you half a dozen reports in one report. It's an overview, so it'll give you an idea of whether you need to find out anything else. So this can again be scheduled every day, sent as a PDF, delivered to the MD every morning, and he can have a look at it and see that you've handled 1,218 calls, 606 in, 612 out, and you missed 127. Of those 127, you haven't called back 50 of them. Your busiest hour was between 9 and 10 o'clock, and the busiest person was Jane. At this point, we can make some observations, and what we're saying here is that 39% of your missed calls were unreturned. Now, at this point, you may decide you want to have a whole load of more reports run to find out a little bit more granular information around these calls. Make sure people call them back. Or it might be you look at this, everything's fine, and you can move on with your day, carry on with what you're doing, and not have to worry about it. Okay. So within the product, there are lots of reports like that. One of the really nice ones for a contact center is the contact center modeling report. And what this allows you to do is look at staffing levels around your actual historic data. So once we've been collecting data for a while, you can use this report, choose a particular day, and then look at the daily, throughout the day, through the hours, how many calls you had. And we can set up some service levels. So I've set mine that I want to have 90% of my calls answered within 20 seconds. I have no wrap-up time between calls, so every time you hang the phone up, if there's another call waiting, it will automatically be put through. And within a particular hour, I can see that on average, the calls were 99 seconds long. Now, when I look at that particular hour, I need to have an understanding of how many people I needed to have at their desks ready to answer the phone within our service levels. So over here in the observations area, I've done a calculation that says that the optimum number of agents required in that hour to answer those calls within your SLAs was 12. Above, you can see if it had fewer, if it had 11, this is what it would have done to your SLA, and if it had more, this is what would it have done. So it can show you to get the right number of people in the right place at the right time. Okay. And this is all around the historic data. So throughout the day, you can have a look at different areas to make sure that, again, you've got people sitting in the right place. And at lunchtime, you understand when you can get people can go for lunch, and at breaks, etc. Okay. So as I say, within the product, there are lots of reports around DDIs, reports around extensions, trunks, customers. If you import some data into our database, there's a lot of reports in there. As you add more modules to the product, you also get additional reports based on those. So what we'll do is have a look at the call recording side of things. So in here, when you click on the call recording tab and you've taken that option as a module, you're able to see all of the call recordings for today. I can then filter that list if I want to by extension, telephone number that called in or we called, or the DDI that they rang, the amount of time, the minimum call duration, the day, the time, etc. So what I'll do is I'll just filter it to one part of a number, click refresh, and we have got one number that's come up. When I right click on that, I can play the call. I can also email it. If I've added the enhanced pack for the recording, I can evaluate the call and we can add some information to it as well, which we'll come on to. But for a start, I can press play and the call comes up, and there's the call recording. And at any point within that call, as we're listening to it, we can trim a piece of that call out and then export that as an MP3 file. And if there's more parts of the call you want to also take out, you can group them together and trim them out as an MP3 file or a WAV file. So once we've got the calls, we can listen to the call and decide whether there was a problem with it. If there was, we can flag the call. If there wasn't a problem with it, we can carry on. We can email that entire call, or we can, if again, as I say, we add the enhanced pack, we can evaluate the call. So this is where we can change the questions for our own personal questions, change the evaluation style from yes, no to an 0 to 10 if needed. And as you listen to the call, you can be grading that call, and you'll get an average rating, and you'll also get a total score of the call. And at any time whilst you're doing this, you can update it and save it, and you can also add more details to that call. So if it was a sale, or if it was a problem call, a complaint, you can add some details there, and you can then search on it. So you can also search around evaluated and non-evaluated calls and call tags and flags. Now, if we have a problem with a particular call, as a supervisor, I may listen to the calls and decide there was a problem and it's a red flagged call. So I've right-clicked on it and chosen a red flag. We can have one person, for example, who has a red flag call playlist. They can click on their playlist, and all they get are calls delivered to them for today for red flags. Once they've listened to the call, we'll have a look at the details to see if there was a problem with it. For example, this one here. Have a look at the details of it. Have a look at the evaluation of it. We may need to deal with it, call the customer back and handle that problem. Once it's all dealt with, we can no flag it, and that call has now been moved on and it's all good. As I said, back into the report section, we're able to actually report on all of these as well. So once you get the enhanced pack, you can report around the questions, the scores, the audits, and feedback, etc. If again you add a dialer or any CTI products to the solution, you also will be able to run reports around the dialer summary and detailed information. Okay, so we'll just go back to the dashboard. I think, Will, at this point, that's probably a good point to pause.